Okay. It's 6 o'clock, Tuesday, August 13th. This is the Board of Public Works. Why am I drawing a blank here? Roll call. Thank you. Alderman Yusuf Hassan? Here. Board Member Jonathan Webster?
Here.
Board Member Clark Johnson?
Here.
Chairperson Charles Porter is here. Board Member Ken Skowronski?
Here.
Board Member Jim Witt?
Here.
Also present is City Engineer Glenn Morrow.
Here.
Highway Superintendent Kevin Schlueter.
Here.
Engineering Technician in the Engineering Department, Ali. Here. Akum. Okay, thank you. I think I hit everybody, right?
Alcam is how I mispronounce it.
Alcam? Okay. I think I hit everybody. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is the reading and approval of the minutes from the June 11th, 2024 meeting.
I'll approve the minutes.
I second.
Printed.
Okay, Clark Johnson approved the minutes and it was seconded by Alderman Hassan. Thank you very much. Unfinished business? Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion? Thank you. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Okay, I'm jumping around here too much. Next item on the agenda is public comment period.
I guess that'd be me, I'm thinking, right?
Although,
Or you want me to wait until you get to that?
so I will say that this gentleman is here for C5C warning sign request.
Okay,
I could wait till you get to
yeah,
that.
we'll take it, and what we may do is we may move these somewhat out of order so we can take care of your
I
item.
mean, I'm 30 seconds and that's also, whatever.
Okay.
it is.
We do have also someone here for item B, the 116th Street.
Okay. All right, well, being that nobody's speaking during the public comment period, it's 6:03. We'll close the public comment period. Unfinished business, the only note I think we have for unfinished business is the July 2024 meeting was canceled. So it's just a tape note. Next item we have to deal with tonight is election, under new business, election of Board of Public Works recorder. It's been vacant for a few months now, and I would like to take nominations for an individual who would be interested in doing that job.
Okay, I'll nominate Mr. Skowronski.
Okay, we've got Board Member Ken Skowronski nominated. Is there anybody else?
Do you want it
Second.
seconded?
I'll accept.
Okay, there you go. I'll second.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Skowronski's been nominated. There are no other people interested, so he's the only person. Ken, would you like to take the job? Would you be willing to? Thank you. He's accepted the nomination.
I'll finish it for the evening and then hand it to you next month.
Okay. Jonathan Webster's going to finish taking the notes for this meeting, and then he'll hand it off to Ken Skowronski next month. Being that there's no other candidates or people being nominated, I'll ask you, what?
Declare the nominations closed.
Okay, I'll declare the nominations closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Here, I'll even do that.
And then you
Nominations are closed.
And then the vote.
All those in favor?
All those in favor of Mr. Skowronski as the board reporter signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing no opposed. It carries. Thank you for
Thank you.
taking care of it. I think I got it there. Okay, well, let's just go to B real quick. New business request for additional work at 642 South 116th Street.
So if you want to look at the screen behind you, this is in the northwest corner of the city. 116th and Belmar. 116th Street is one of them that goes through to Hell's Corners. Belmar is the first road immediately south of the city line. So this situation is in regards to, and we actually discussed this 2 years ago. You were here about 2 years ago.
The algae problem?
You were, yeah.
I think it was,
Started actually 2021, and then I filed a complaint in July of 2022.
So this goes back perhaps 3 years ago, where we talked about this at Board of Public Works. I'm sorry I didn't look up the actual date. But there are some homes in here and the ditches. So first of all, I just want to point out, look at these contour lines. There's contour line 840, 840, 840, 840, 840, 840. This entire neighborhood basically has a contour line of 840. There really is no drainage from this neighborhood. However, there is most of the ditches, if you go out there, I say most, not all of them, are somewhat dry during dry weather. I drove around today, and you can find, I don't know, maybe a third of them, or maybe somebody hasn't mowed the grass in that ditch because it's a little tough to mow, kind of thing. That's what we're talking about here. Actually, what's your address, sir? 8425. So this home right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So that's the person that's here today, 8425, and there is a. You'll notice, actually, you can see it here. There's a sump pump discharge line. There's some blocks in the ditch. I do want to point that out for a reason. So we do have a policy that we take our sump pump lines halfway to the road, and it needs to stop there. But this one does go all the way to the road, and it's not uncommon around the city. But that is occurring. So we do have, and I put in your packet some shots, some topo shots along that ditch line. So long story short is there is a slope that flows north. However, there's a minimum slope that we like to do in our ditches. Otherwise, it's just really too flat to drain. And that's what we have here. So there is a slope, but it's not ideal. 0.8% is what we typically like to do there. So there is a design that would work, but it would require replacing this driveway and this driveway culvert. So just to let you know, if you recall, less than a year ago, we talked about, actually probably more like 6 months ago, we talked about increasing the cost of culverts really to cover our costs, if you recall that. So that did pass Common Council. So using those new prices, each of these culverts would be roughly a $3,000 fix, and that doesn't include the asphalt. And Kevin actually got an asphalt quote. How much was it? $7,000 for both of them. So anyway, very, very expensive. So that's what we have going on here. What happens is water gets down to this gentleman's driveway culvert, and from here to here, it's a fairly flat slope. It is sloped, but it's fairly flat, and it has water standing in it. And actually, when you get out of here, there's still some water standing, but we could relay this driveway and this driveway culvert such that it would come down the corner and it turns the corner. I think, I forget where the crossing is. Right here, or the next place. I think it's maybe right here.
No.
Right in here. So there is actually a culvert like right here. This is where it all drains downhill too. But again, notice again that 840 contour. It's relatively flat, flat as flat can be. So that's what we've got here. I guess having said that, I'll let Kevin, you want anything for the resident talks?
Yeah, Debbie signed it first. Deb signed it first.
I just signed it because I'm here.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Right.
I'm listening.
So Debbie is the neighbor at 8413.
6413.
I'm sorry, 6413.
My water currently goes into a rain garden.
Yeah.
With the
So it
solar.
is not contributing to the culvert water,
Mhm.
at least not directly.
So this, I guess let me further state that DPW has been out there and they've worked on it, and again, it's just a flat a flatter slope. So it's very, very tough to get. Having said that, even when they're done, they walked away from it, it still holds water. I'll say that. That's a fair statement, right? So they did do a lot of work there, but it still holds water.
For a couple days, or are we talking a week of dry weather?
I've never been by there where there's not water standing.
I would agree with that. I've driven by there myself.
Yeah. So, but again, I would also point out the fact that there is a sump pump that probably adds water to the situation, doesn't allow it to dry out. So, having said that, why don't you take over and
Okay.
plead your case?
Don't mind me. Never gonna get knee replacement.
You can say so.
No, because I want to get these to all the members. This is the originals. Take a look at them. There was an original complaint filed with the city of Franklin regarding the LG that started in 2021, and I filed a complaint in 2022. The response from Sandy was that she was going to forward it to the health department, engineering, and DPW. The date, I've never heard nothing back, which was frustrating. And in the meantime, over the past couple of years, I had to go out there twice or three times to work and rake out the algae, all right? And now according to Courtney Day, who used to be the health director, who I talked to last Friday, and she said, algae? And I says, yeah. She said, Bob, all forms of algae are hazardous to animals and human beings. So the rest of the information is in emails I sent between Mayor Nelson and myself. Don't mind me, I'm with that again. For your review. Okay, here's the copy of the original complaint. And when I did file the complaint, there were attached pictures of that ditch back then. Okay. Then this was an email to the mayor. Take a look at the email sent to Deb from Tyler. Tyler recommended the only way to cure the problem was to sit there and reinstall new culverts. And the culverts have raised over the years. I think the last time there was any major ditching was probably 25 or 30 years ago when Jack Bennett was here. Hers is raised. The neighbor to the north, Joanne, hers is raised, and it creates a problem, okay? So then on July 26th, I emailed Deb because of the work that was done by Kevin's crew when it was brought to light, what transpired after the ditching, okay? Deb did request the crew to cut all the tall grass out of the ditch before they lay down that mesh or the netting. They never did. My neighbor across the street, who's a retired sheriff from the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, he had a video. What the crew did, instead of going out there and correcting it, no, because it was bulging, the grass was growing, okay? It was bulging. What did they do? They came down and they stamped it down. That's all they did. It didn't correct the problem with the drainage. As a matter of fact, I talked to, it was one of the emails, I talked to a landscape architect, and I told him, explained exactly what was going on with the tall grass, and he said they didn't, and I said, no. He said, what's going to happen? The tall grass is going to grow up through that mesh, that netting, and it's going to interfere with the water flow. It's all in the emails, okay? That's the next one. Well, the next one was on July 26th to the mayor, all right? What transpired was I ran across the mayor at the Hales Corners post office. It was one of his conversations with me where he was ranting and raving, okay? And I informed him of the problem at Joanne's property. When they put that netting down in the topsoil, it blocked Joanne Neuson's drain from her sub pump. So, and Kevin, if you remember, Kevin, I called you, I said, you gotta get out there, because if that water backs up into her basement, there's gonna be a problem, okay? They came out and they corrected it. Well, as of last Friday, it's covered again. So she's worried. And now the other interesting part was, if you look at one of the emails, the mayor stated that Joanne Doyson didn't want anything done with her culvert or her ditch. So I saw her on Friday, okay? And I said, is it true? She says, no, I never talked to anybody from the city.
Excuse me, this is
And I
Joanne's
said,
house.
well-
This is Joanne's house right here.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
And I said, well, the mayor said he talked to you. She said, nobody from the city contacted me. And she said, as far as the mayor, I don't even know what it looks like. So, you know, the whole ditch problem it's been crazy. All right? And the only way the solution is, well, I'm going to leave you all these copies of these emails, okay? And the last one is the rant from Mayor Nelson and I put it all in. And I said the whole problem with the ditches, it's a waste of time because Kevin can instruct his staff like he did on Tuesday, but then he leaves. No supervision. That was the problem, okay? Next one was on July 27th. I was reminded by Deb that the city actually came out last year, which would have been 2023, okay? Started trenching. The whole problem was, the first one to really complain was Joanne Doyson. None of us got any kind of prior notice, in writing or anything, that they were doing that. And the amount of hours that they spent there doing it, okay? And I looked at the city's website, whatever it costs for each employee, and I talked to a current DPW employee and a former one. Average pay is $30 an hour. So you look at the amount of hours that they spent on 2023 and this year. Then I sent an email to Glenn, copied to John, Jason Craig, and then Deb. There was a reply from Sandy Wissel. She did forward a complaint to the Health Department of Engineering. Never received any reply. Yesterday, you stated that to Deb and I that you were going to discuss the ditch issue further with Kevin and hope to come up with a satisfactory conclusion. And then be placed on August 13th agenda, not 18th. Next one was August 1st with the mayor. He started off with a statement of a threat, which no doubt has to be with me contacting Mr. Borowski from the Journal last Friday. Yeah, I contacted him because it's an issue, okay? And they wanted to send out a reporter to do a study. And I said, no, let's wait. Let's see what transpires, right? So then I even contacted Contact 6. And the female, I can't remember her name, she said, we'd like to do a story on that problem. And I said, can you hold off? I said, we've got a Board of Public Works meeting coming up. So that was a 2-page email to the mayor. This is back on July 26th. Another one. And in one of the conversations with Mayor Nelson, this was after Glenn returned. He says, Bob, you're not going to be happy with what's going to go on. And I'm going, really? There's been no solution, right? So last week, Friday, I called Glenn's office, right? And I got the female on the phone. And I always like when they say this is the agent. And well, he's in a meeting with the mayor. A couple hours later, I got a call from Glenn saying, you're going to be on the agenda for Board of Public Works. All right? I do have a copy of the email from Tyler Bellick that was sent to Debbie and to me. And it states, I just wanted to update you on the plan to hopefully correct the standing water issue once and for all. The only way for us to get enough grade to keep water moving to the north as intended and hopefully prevent any further algae growth is to lower the 2 driveway culverts to your north. That won't be able to be done this spring. Spring came, but then you had a major problem with Putes with it. The plan will be to reset and replace those culverts and drive approaches and right away, parentheses, no cost to the neighbors. City will be responsible. I appreciate your patience, as I know this has been frustrating. Now, here's some pictures that I took on August 3rd. This one is where the water comes from my culvert and travels to the north. This is a picture of where the water travels to the north to Deb's culvert. And as you'll see here, the water does not directly go into the culvert. It goes to the west of the culvert. So all of the water does not go into the culvert. Here is more of the picture of the culvert, okay? Then I went to Joanne's place. Here's another picture. Her culvert is squashed on one side. She's got an algae in it, okay? Same like the original picture of mine. Here's another one. Shows the algae forming. August 3rd, here it goes. The netting, as of August 12th, here's a picture of from my culvert to Deb's culvert. You'll see the algae build up in a week. And it goes all the way through to Deb's culvert, and you'll see by the curve, the water is not draining straight. It's going to the west of her culvert pipe.
And the algae continues to Joanne's.
And then it goes to Joanne's. And she's got buildup of algae too. Here's a more picture, August 12th. So I don't know what to tell you. I know the subject was the city doesn't want to pay for the replacement of culverts. In one of my emails to Glenn, I suggested, well, you could reset them. But the way the culverts, the age of them, 25, 30 years old, they've had it. They're not going to last. So it was my recommendation to Glenn was to sit there and replace them with new culverts and driveway approaches. Now, as far as the water coming from my sub pump on that black tubing, that's been there for 25 years. Okay? And I placed it so the water drains through my culvert, or through the culvert. Deb will be a witness to this. Never had a problem with algae. No water backup until the culvert started raising on her property and Joanne's property. That's when the algae problem started, and that's why I filed that complaint with the city. So I don't know what kind of conclusion you can come up with, but again, it's gotten to the point where matter of fact, in the last week, I've had to go out and rake some of the algae away from my culvert, at least a foot or 2 foot, so the water starts flowing, so it doesn't back up into my culvert, which it has been. So I know Kevin said that black tubing, it's been there for 25 years. And Deb, in front of the mayor, even admitted the culvert used to be dry. But then when the culvert's raising, it created the problem. And that's why I filed a complaint. So.
I've lived there 43 years. You've been there, what, 41 years?
Since 1985.
Okay, Joanne's been there 60-some years, and we've never seen what we're seeing now.
I forgot, probably should introduce
Go ahead.
you. You need to introduce yourself and your
Oh,
address.
Bob Sondrowski, 6425 South 116th Street, Franklin.
Sorry about that, yeah. I should have asked for that. We need that for the record.
And Deb should do that too.
Jabora Bazowitz, 6413 South 116.
Thank you.
They mentioned about the culverts rising. I will admit, when you go out there, it does appear that the culverts have maybe huge, some of that kind of thing. As far as the matting goes, again, the matting that we put down there was one of those. It's not meant to be a permanent. It's not like it's sod. It's really meant to protect it while the grass seed is growing. I assume the grass seed got put down first.
It's growing solid.
So, it disappears with UV light over time. So, I guess I'll throw those two things in to follow up with what Bob said.
See, the other problem too is Kevin was out there after the trenching, even after the trenching was done the second time. I had a lot of stone along the culvert going to the street, okay? And I'm going, what are they gonna do with the stone? Well, I was told they'll rake it out. They never did. They covered it up with soil and the netting. So, just like with Debbie's, instead of pulling out that tall grass to correct the problem, no. If you take a look at a picture of hers that she's got, it's raising. So, is it quality workmanship? I hate to say it, Kevin, yeah, you can supervise, but if you're not there 24/7 with the workers, you don't know what kind of work is being done. And I'm not gonna sit and criticize. You know, it's crazy.
So the question before you tonight, and before you maybe ask follow-up questions, is this rise to the level of something the city should invest and go back and reset the culverts to make this whole thing work? Having said that, keep in mind if you've driven around the southeast portion of the city, cattails in almost every yard. You keep that in mind. If we start here, that's our concern, is that we'll have to continue on. So please ask your questions, and then that's what we're asking you.
See, and I talked to former Mayor Taylor about this issue, okay? And he says, you know, Bob, the whole problem is you got a ditch problem. I said, but what it is, the city has no master plan on how to correct ditch problems in the city of Franklin. So,
Well, we got some people with some questions. And excuse me, you had your hand up earlier. Was there something you wanted to add real quick?
Yes, you mentioned the webbing will sort of dissolve with the UV light.
Over time, yes.
Well, the overtime part is because I used that same netting, except white, 15 years ago, and I'm still pulling it out of my yard. So we're both sold a bill of goods. It
It's part of
doesn't.
erosion control.
All right,
Go ahead, Mr. White.
Culverts, are they CMPs or RCP?
CMPs.
Okay, now if you, when he says it's coming, I'm sure that, because it's probably shallow, I've never been there.
And I believe they're 15-inch, if I recall.
And I'm sure the frost is raising them up,
Right.
which they always do.
Yeah.
The question is, if you do replace them, you know, I see concrete doesn't raise up as easy, but you got the diameter concerned with, you know, because it's a 3-inch pipe compared to
6-inch.
whatever, you know, like years ago we've been put in HDP, but they tend to float, you know, because they got air on them, you know, but they last forever, and I'm sure their CMPs are probably rotted out about by now anyway, right?
Well, and the frost heaves them,
Right,
no different than anybody's.
right, just brings them up, and they don't go back down.
right.
You know?
see, 10 years ago, excuse me, I noticed when I was backing my vehicle up on my driveway approach, it was bottoming out, okay? And I got a 2003 Vet, okay? It was bottoming out. So I got a hold of the city. They sent Ron Romice out with a guy. They put in a camera in my culvert. It was collapsing. So I ended up spending the $900 for replacement of culvert, okay? And because I wanted concrete approach, right? So Jerry Schaefer came out and he said, Bob, he says, you know, the standard size of the culvert is this length. And I said, no, I want it to be the same width as my driveway approach. Because when the concrete is poured, I'm gonna have like curbs on the side and it's gonna go flush down to the sides of the culvert. So that's when Jack Bennett and Jerry Schaefer were about. And to give you a history, I think it was about 7 years after I bought the house, there was a gigantic meeting at the high school. And we were contemplating redoing all the ditches on 116th Street, Belmar, wherever, right? So after the meeting, I met with Jack Bennett. And I said, Jack, do me a favor. Do not touch my ditch. He says, why? He says, I hand graded it. Well, I was down the next day on the appointments. Sure enough, they did it, okay? So, and to top it off, they pitched a culvert to the south instead of to the north. So they had to come back and redo it. So then I went and purchased a 16-foot 2x4, not a Menards one, a quality one. I used, yeah. So then I used the, what do you call this, the levels? Two of them to make sure the pitch was there. And I put in patio block, so it would stay with stone underneath, so it wouldn't sink, okay? Then the black tubing, I reinstalled again. So, yep, so that black tubing has been there. I know Kevin says I should remove it, but no. And the thing is, what, you know, knowing state law, DNR, when they bring up the issue of algae, and I've got the proof on that one, all forms of algae are hazardous to any animal or a human being. So whose responsibility is it? Is it the cities to correct the problem? My opinion is yes.
Mr. Webster had a question or
Okay,
comment.
one, on this block, everything from this block runs to the east to that cross culvert you talked about?
It runs north and then east, I think it's right
It crosses
there.
there.
Yeah,
West.
Okay, so then it goes east from that point.
okay, it goes north into Hills Corners.
Okay. I'm recalling, and this is before your time and probably before yours too, I'm trying to remember the road. It's the one that's just to the west of the ballpark.
Hawthorne?
Hawthorne? Yes. This board approved they had a very similar situation there, in which they had they were very flat, couldn't get it drained. And at the time, as a method to help the drainage in that area, we put a behind the curb pipe, a drain, kind of like a French drain a little bit behind there, and this board approved that up in that area. It was, Ron Romice was here at the time, so it was, and I think it was even before your time, maybe 20 years ago.
Could be.
But that, to help drain.
That was behind the
that's-
curb, Jonathan?
Yes, it was not on the curb, it was behind the curb. So now I'm thinking in my head, because we've done that type of thing
Yeah,
before.
we actually did a large project in Rawson Home.
Yeah,
Basically did that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that if we could do a couple of these homes that are having some issues, that maybe we can do some behind the curb type thing and get some temporary help so that we can get the water into and out of the ditch in through some temporary piping that can get to the culvert and get moving downstream. I don't know if that would work. I'm just asking the question.
All right.
Can I interrupt you a second? I'm looking at this picture, okay? It shows my property with an asphalt driveway approach. And if you take a look at to the north of the culvert with the rock, all the patio block. That's why it was dry for years. But then, like I stated,
Yeah.
Deb and Joanne's culvert raised, and it created a problem.
Right. So what I'm trying to suggest, okay, those are all history lessons, but now I'm asking the question of what can we do to maybe help at this point in time? And so I'm recalling what we did on, what is it, Hawthorne? That road.
Okay.
And,
I don't recall that.
but it was before your time. Remember, I've been on this board a while. And I'm just suggesting it as
You know,
something that we could maybe do
So-
locally to a couple of these locations to help get the water moving.
So to answer your question, there's lots of things you probably could do. It's just, it's a matter of time and money. And
Yes.
So,
But what I'm suggesting is something that's a little lighter cost, but that probably could do the job without going in and doing the culverts at this point in time, and hopefully get some drainage.
you would still
in
have to,
there.
my opinion, is you still have to drag the subsurface drainage across the driveways.
You might be true. I don't know the answers to all those things. I'm just making a suggestion of something that we have done in the past. That was a cost-efficient method of approaching the problem.
But can I interrupt you a second? Okay, so you're talking from the north end of my culvert, okay, going through the rest of my area, through Deb's, to Joanne's, you're talking maybe 300 to 400 feet of tubing. What is the cost to do that versus replacing the culverts?
Well, those have to be, that has to be evaluated,
Okay.
you know, but that's, and so, yeah, we'd have to evaluate those cost differences. And, but
All right.
it's just an option that I was throwing out there that I
All
think
right.
engineering can.
I understand. I want to say something first, and then I'll let you speak. Question is, how often does your sump pump run?
Probably 30 seconds at a pop, maybe every 5 to 10 minutes.
In the rainy season?
Yeah, see, because the thing is too, I learned when I built that, or when I bought that house, the pitch from the walls was towards the basement, right? So I had, God, this company come in with all the soil and redo the pitch away from the walls. And then I put in 16 millimeter heavy plastic, and then covered it up with number 2 wash stone. Seaford Trucking did all the work. So, yeah.
Because all that soil up there is pretty much clay.
Yeah.
Pardon?
It's all clay soil up there.
The whole thing, as soon as I found out years ago, almost that entire area is over natural creek beds.
I don't know about that, but I put some pipe in there years ago,
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Well, I guess the reason for the question is that the sump pump is obviously aggravating the problem in the ditch. And I'm throwing this out there as a potential solution. What if the sump pump was to dump into the yard where it could disperse and dry up and not aggravate the problem in the ditch as far as the drainage?
Well, what happened was after I got the house, doing the normal course of cutting grass and stuff, I started noticing sinkholes. I'm going, what the heck is this? What happened was years back when they put in that, it wasn't PVC, it was corroding and collapsing. So I had a company come in and they did whatever that trench is, and they with it going down to the ditch, and they all installed my PVC.
Right. You had something you wanted to add?
I have had and have offered to, let me preface, whether you know it or not, my yard has been taken out. I've taken the lawn out, I've put in all native prairie. I have offered to replace, at my cost, the grass with native prairie and rain garden plants, at least for a temporary basis, to see if it will do anything. And I was just cut off at the knees and said, ain't gonna happen.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's I know your house. I drive by it quite often. Frankly,
Come pick flowers.
I admire it. But anyway, I mean, it's a neighbor's prerogative. You know, some people don't want that type of stuff, and other people might embrace that technology, and it's not for us to, you know. But I was just asking the question because sometimes, you know, the water dispersed over a larger area allows it to soak into the ground and dry, you know, as the sun beats on it, instead of having it all concentrated in one area, which is what we currently have. So,
Well, we tried it without the black tubing.
yeah.
Okay, all the water is still running from the sump pump into the ditch, goes into the culvert. That was before I replaced it with the new culvert and the concrete approach. So the water still flows into the culvert, still goes towards Deb's house and Joanne's. So
Well, do we have any more? I don't know what way to go with this, to be honest with you.
I mean, you would know how much it costs to put a cross culvert in, CMP or whatever you put in, and then you'd have to
It's about $3,000 per driveway culvert.
2,000.
$3,000 plus the cost of asphalt.
Well, that costs more than just piping it, like you said, like you did in Ross Heights. You put a pipe in, it's not per se, just a thought, like he was saying. Be like a French drain, so to speak, put a pipe. You know, you could put a 4 or 6 in with wrap in a sock with perforated holes, so it don't silt in, so to speak.
Question is, I mean, like I said, there's plenty of ways to skin this cat.
Right.
Is this something you feel that rises to the level of the city having to fix?
I think, you know, Glenn is trying not to open a can of worms, and all of a sudden we end up with 1 million petitions for all the same thing. I think that's
which brings up a good point. One of my conversations with Mayor Taylor, when in one of his rants, he said, Kevin got a request from 3 property owners to take care of their ditches. And I said to the mayor, it's nothing to do with me or Deb or Joanne. So I don't know. And I said, Mayor, can you do me a favor? Can you send me that documentation that Kevin received? I didn't get it.
go ahead. Yeah.
I think Kevin did you have a comment?
Well, I was just going to say, in general, in the city, when a resident comes to us
with a culvert that's heaved up a little bit or rised, we tell them they have to come to engineering, apply for a permit, and either we'll reset it or replace it, and the cost is on the property owner.
Yep.
And that's how we handle all the rest.
Right.
We don't just go out and do them willy-nilly. They have to go and get the proper permit and pay the fees.
But in this case, it would take 2 driveways, not just one.
Well, one thing,
There's also a downspout or a sump pump line pushed into the ditch, if I know right.
Yeah.
The picture.
But he was mentioning it's been there for 25 years, he said.
well, I'll close with this. Back in 2022, after I filed a complaint, if the city would have taken care of the problem, the city would have saved probably about $3,000 to $4,000 in labor costs, which doesn't include the equipment, doesn't include the per hour rate the guy that was operating the big ditch backhoe or whatever. So, like Tyler said, the only way to solve it is to replace the culverts. And if you look at the pictures, how that water is flowing from my culvert to Deb's, to the side of her culvert, down to Joanne's, the same
Right.
thing over and over again.
Right. Well,
There's a secondary question also. I believe you have a concrete drive, correct?
Yep, and a
That-
concrete approach.
concrete approach. If we do reset the culvert, I believe that a number of years ago, we came back and said that we won't replace concrete with concrete anymore.
I was told that, yes.
Yes,
Yep.
and that came out of this board a number of years ago. I just wanted to mention that.
well, I guess, does your culvert need to be reset or just
No.
the 2 to the north?
Nope, mine's perfect.
So just the 2 to the
Just
north?
To the north.
Just-
So his
Yeah,
doesn't
Joanne's.
need to be touched, so we're not worried about restoration of his driveway.
Okay,
We're concerned about
the two to the north.
the 2 to the north and how to remedy that.
So here's my question. Typically, we have a funny situation here. Typically, we would, as Mr. Skowronski said, you go and you make an application or to get your permit, and the city comes in and resets the culverts, and it's not this big of a deal. The situation here is you have downstream, this gets to a question I'm trying to get to. Downstream from your property, you have 2 properties that their things have gone up, so their culverts have heaved, and therefore, it's now causing issues back here. I'm assuming that it's that there was nothing else done by the city except for the heaval of that has caused this problem. It just happens. So what you have here is the situation where you have a citizen who needs help from his 2 neighbors to the north to replace the culverts, but they have no reason to come and ask us to do it. So we have a funny situation here to replace the culvert and get the drainage back to normal. It's not a normal situation that we're involved in here. It's my point.
Right, and the fact that everything's so doggone flat doesn't aid.
It
help
there
at all.
doesn't help at all.
There is
So-
pitch to it, it's minimum.
It's minimum. So the question then becomes, are we setting a precedent if we go ahead and say to do this? Are we setting a precedent to look at the ditches in other areas? And I'm saying no, and the reason for that is because we are setting culverts, we're not doing ditches.
Correct.
So I'm not so concerned about doing ditches in other areas of the city if we do these 2
Okay,
in this scenario, because we're not setting the precedent of doing a ditch, okay? We're setting the precedent of doing the culverts that have, just over time been heaved, and that's my opinion. I don't know what other people believe or think about that. So I am not so negative on going in and doing this work. The only thing that I'm having issues with is going to the neighbors and say, we'd like to move your culvert to, as a city, and say, we're trying to affect the drainage 2 houses away and get that drained out because your thing's heating, and then, well, we're fine, we don't need ours. And
Right.
so why are you making us pay? And that's the issue that I'm saying that we have to deal with. That's the crux of what we're dealing with here in this situation. I think we can avoid the comment on the ditches. This is
Fair enough.
a culvert question.
Fair enough.
So therefore, do we want to roll down that path? I don't know if it's a question that we should ask our attorney to verify that that's a true statement, that we're not setting that precedent. I'm asking an opinion from staff.
I don't think that's a legal opinion. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, just, that's why we're coming to the board, it's just something to the right level. And I think the city should, on our dime and our effort,
Yeah.
replace culverts. So,
And I'm kind of tended to think it is, personally.
And
But
the-
only because it's, what's affecting this gentleman's property is stuff that's occurring down the road 2 houses away. And it's the culverts that have heaved over time, and those are our responsibilities, is setting those
and
levels.
Bob would tell you, the mayor would also say, if that is to be the case, if the city's gonna go in and do that on our dime, would the board consider any sort of stipulations? Like, for example, we do have that rule for a reason where your sump pump can only go halfway out to the road for some reason. So
Mhm.
any water that is in that ditch would have time to dissipate, possibly in the yard. Right now, there's water there all the time, and it never really gets a chance to
Right.
evaporate. So,
Right.
so maybe make sure to clean the ditch out. Get rid of the rocks or the pavers and the sump pump discharge line. Put it back to where it ought to be at 50% of the line.
Yeah, I would also tend to agree with that comment.
And that's kind of where I was going with my question. And did you have something more to add real quick?
I have questions.
Okay, and again, state your name and then ask the questions real quick.
Deb Bosowitz,
Yeah, thank you.
413.
Yeah,
Please take this down to a 2nd grade level for me, or tell me whom to contact with my list of questions, because over the last, I don't know, 10 years maybe, as you will notice, my driveway, the end of the driveway where the culvert is,
yeah,
it looks like a speed bump.
right.
And it didn't look like a speed bump all the 40 years I've been living there. I understand that it's sinking. Now, if I'm going to take care of it, would the city be taking care of it, or is it up to me to get a private contractor to take care of it? And when somebody takes care of it, does that mean they're just going to replace it the way it is, or there's going to be leveling and seeing if there's a real shift of land going on, blah, blah, blah?
Okay, well, Glenn, I'm pretty sure you could answer that, because that's the thing with the permits, that requires a permit.
I would suggest to you nothing's settled. It's a matter of heaving. So there's clay soils.
Mhm.
Clay holds water. Wintertime it freezes. The culvert popped up. That's what's creating the speed bump. I don't think the rest of your driveway had the sunk more than the actual pipe pushed everything
That it
up.
heaved, okay.
So-
Yeah, it gets frost underneath it, and the frost picks it up,
Right,
and then in the springtime, other stuff fills back in underneath in
okay.
the void that was created by the ice. And it's just continuing to jack it up,
Including my frogs.
But,
Okay,
See, whatever I think, Deb's driveway is a width of 1 car. Joanne's is 2, like mine. So the cost is probably cheaper for her culvert to be replaced than Joanne's.
Kevin, did you want to add something?
Yeah, because this is an issue in this entire area up there. I mean, it's not just 116th Street, it's everywhere. So I did receive a letter from 5 of the neighbors to the north with the exact same issues, wanting theirs to fixed also. So if we're gonna do 1 or 2 or 3, and then we've also gotten 2 more phone calls besides these 5. So it's gonna be nonstop for the whole subdivision up there. And over the years since I've been with Franklin, that whole subdivision has been this wet area with no drainage. It's just known. So we really need to be prepared to do that entire sewage out there. And it's gonna cost major money. And this is
That's
just
what we're not
within the
aware of,
last couple
so we need
days.
to know
Yeah,
that.
and
I think he's trying to say
Again-
with the culvert of worms.
culvert replacement is by the owner.
And to answer your question about a private contractor, I believe is that in the permitting process, the city has to go out and approve the set or the grade of the pipe, but you could have your own private contractor, I think, do the work. Is that not, oh, no?
We allow that for South Forest Cape because it's a special situation.
Oh, okay,
That
my
was
mistake,
that was
sorry.
very
So
unusual
wait,
issue.
what happens?
So you would not be allowed to hire your own contractor to go out and do it.
Okay,
Oh,
that was
okay.
my mistake.
So I come to the city and I fill out an application to say I'm gonna redo my driveway, can you redo the culvert? And you.
We do it and charge you.
Okay,
All right, there, that's the answer to your question.
that was.
Thank you, Glenn.
If you recall, that was, South Forest Cape was such a huge project, a large pipe, and we had some other issues going on. We did allow it specifically for
Okay.
your house, but
All right.
that's not typical.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
So
No, we did it.
I'm sitting here, based on Kevin's comments now, coming to a little different conclusion than my original one. And that is, I think we need to go back and take a kind of a survey of the area that we're talking about. How many culverts are we talking about have this type of a problem in the area? Because like that, then that's what you just brought up, is that if we do 2 here, then we got 26 more to do. You know, that's a can of worms that is a little more
That's likely what could happen, because I've driven
Yes.
through that neighborhood and I know exactly what they're talking about, and that's a potential, should we say Pandora's box
Yes.
that could be opened up here.
So,
I drove through there today, and I would guess at least 25, maybe a third, just kind of in that range of yards that have like beyond mowed grass in the middle, so you can tell if that's too wet to mow kind of.
two at the mow type things. So, you know, that affects my comments from earlier. I'm not sure that my comments make a lot of sense without, you know,
Well,
some deeper look into this.
well, then I'll ask the question, what do we want to do as a board? How do we want to handle this?
If I
Well,
can,
in my stance, any culvert replacement is borne by, at the owner's expense, done through the city. There's, Mr. Swindorski's got a sump pump line piped right to his culvert. It's in violation. So, no action on my part.
I agree. I second it.
So
Then if the residents in the area come to the city and say that they would like these culverts replaced, then at that time, maybe engineering can plot a solution to get us a little more flow than 0.8%, Jimmy. That's all they got there is 0.8%.
Yeah, it's flat.
Yeah. Agreed. So,
I mean, 1% is ideal, but we will go down to 0.8%, but it's still pretty flat.
pardon me?
1% is ideal, but 0.8 is what we will go down to, but we're even less than that.
I'd be glad to remove the black tubing, but like I told you before, when that sub pump kicks in, the water flows. Even though I got this patio block underneath, it's gonna flow into my culvert. And it's, from my culvert, it's gonna go in to the north.
But like you said, you cut your pipe off halfway up your yard, you granted you would know it's gonna be wet.
I'm not gonna do that. No.
You wouldn't put
Because
so
I
much
know what
water
that
in it.
expense was for me to
You
get
understand,
everything
but
done
you
by a
won't have so
private
much water in your
contractor.
ditch.
No.
But like Glenn said, you have an ordinance on that too.
That was been done since I've been here, since 1085. That initial new PVC piping was probably done in 89 or 90. So,
Well,
it never was above ground, it was always underground.
well, I think we can beat this to death all night long, and I think we have to, as a board, make a decision here. And we've heard from a couple of the board members that, from a board standpoint, to take no action. Would somebody like to make that as a motion?
I'd make the motion.
Okay, Jim, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
What's the motion, Jim?
To take no action.
I'll second that.
And Mr. Skaranski seconded that motion. Any brief discussion prior to taking a vote? We've taken it to the board at this point, so I'm gonna ask you to not comment right now. Anybody? Okay, hearing no discussion, all those in favor of no action on this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I'm sorry, the ayes have got it, so,
Well, the alternative is I'll file another complaint with the health department.
well,
Because that's the only way, according to state statutes and the DNR, it's hazardous to animals and human beings.
I understand.
So someone's gonna have to correct it.
You've stated it several times, and
Yep.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that we've made our decision.
And I know what a judge would rule. Guess what, Franklin? You have to correct that algae problem.
Well, yes, ma'am,
Quick question.
yes.
You mentioned you had gotten notices from, like, what, up to 25 people?
No, 5 in writing
5 in
and 2
writing.
verbally.
Oh, 2 verbally. Okay, I thought you had gotten more calls as well.
We get, in general, calls for that entire area
Okay,
with people wishing for us to do something. I just can't because
All right.
the whole area is so flat.
the question, another question that I have is, if people were to approach City Hall and say, hey, can you do something about this? Would we be better off coming in as a group so that we all get permits at the same time, so that it becomes a project that is worked out sensibly, as opposed to, we're gonna do this one?
As opposed
Oh,
to
then we're gonna do
piecemeal.
this
You're
one?
talking about doing it as a
Exactly.
group instead of
Makes
piecemeal.
sense.
Yes.
And that might be a good solution, but understand that the people that are having this done are gonna bear the burden of the cost themselves.
understand that.
So, okay, good, thank you. But yes, you're right, your suggestion is probably a smart suggestion, you know, and maybe even, we could even maybe be proactive. If it looks like this is gonna catch fire, maybe notify some of the residents in the area and say, hey, this is a potential project, and if, you know, so, just a thought.
But keep in mind that the area is flat.
Oh, I know.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
I mean, we can replace culverts till we're blue in the face, but if there's nowhere for the water to go, like, I think Glenn, you agree, right?
I just asked Kevin, any of these property owners, is it replacing the culverts? He doesn't know. Maybe it's just strictly the ditch, not graded properly.
well,
So,
anyway, we need to move on here. We've been here
Okay.
for an hour, and we've discussed this at great length, and thank you for, you know, bringing it to our attention, and I hope, I'm sorry we didn't remedy it quite like you wanted it, but we'll see what we can do going
I
forward.
just wanna know, what is the city gonna do to cure the algae?
Yeah. Well,
Gonna send a crews out every 2 or 3 days to rake it out?
okay,
My apologies to the other guests. Sorry.
all right.
Take care, guy.
Take care. I'm just telling
I
you.
know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're scared, there's a relief.
But it's not a cure hurt algae.
5C, warning sign request.
So if you look at the map here, this is 68th Street between Rawson and Drexel. Christine Rathke Park is right here. There's a small cul-de-sac right here called Wildwood. I think that's the name of it. Yeah, Wildwood Creek Court. So if you recall, it's been, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, maybe longer, we actually had a study of 68th Street done where we looked at all the curves. We fixed the 2 worst ones. This was definitely on, I think, the top 5, but it wasn't one of the worst ones that we had out there. So this gentleman came to us and requested that we have a warning sign for school buses as they're southbound here. Let's see if I can. I'm not going to do that. While you're talking, I might look at Google Earth, but it is a hill. It is a hill to the north of it, And as you're southbound on this hill, the study would show, if you recall the study, there is sufficient visual, especially for I would suggest for a school bus. Someone should see a school bus. School buses are tall enough. So that, having said that, I do understand that there's a curve there, and there's some visual obstruction with the vertical curve. Last time we told you this was coming, this is back in June, you asked us to get a comment from the school district on this issue, so that's what's before you. I asked her comment, should we have a sign that says something like school bus stop ahead or something. Andy Cromie, who's the, what's his title? I didn't include the last page. He's the superintendent, I believe. Sorry for the delay, Glenn. I would say that we wouldn't want to do this, as our bus stops change yearly depending on where our students are that need to be picked up. So that was their comment for what that's worth. But those are the background. I'll let the gentleman further make his case.
George Chernesky, 7677 South 68. So here's the top of that hill. It's a pretty steep grade. Okay? And if you take a look at, there's the top. And you can't see the school, or the what do you call it? The street post down here where the bus stops at. So when you're at the top of that hill, you don't see the bus at the bottom. And I'd invite anyone to come out during the school year when the buses stop, make them a cup of coffee. They can sit on my porch. And at least once a week, you're going to hear brakes screeching. You're going to hear cars tearing out. You're going to hear cars passing the bus because they're going fast. We have that time of day, we have the traffic to the people at work and go to the prison or whatever you want to call it out there. And, it's 30 miles an hour, and no one goes 30 miles an hour out there. Kevin knows that. They don't go 30 miles an hour out there. And so if you're at the top of that hill, you don't see the bottom of the hill, and no, you do not see a school bus. And what I would say, I don't know how this really works here, but if you're not convinced about that, I would defer this, and then sometime in between now and the next meeting, when you're going south on 68th Street, in between Rawson and Drexel, you drive up there, and I tell you, there's a house right on that hill, and that, it's a hidden driveway. You don't see that. If you're backing out of that driveway, you can't see what's coming over the hill. And so you cannot see, when you're on top of that hill going south, what's at the bottom. And I wish everyone went 30 miles an hour there, but that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. With that said, you could, like I said, that's the top of the hill, and then when you go over the pitch, you'll see the telephone pole, which you don't see when you're at the top of the hill. And so when there's a school bus there, you won't see it. You won't see it. And like I said, I invite anyone to come out sometime during the week, and somewhere within the week you're going to hear screeching tires or something going on. And actually there's kids on the other side of the street also, so they're being picked up and dropped off on, at least last year, on both sides of 68th Street. I know my alderman we met with Glenn, and he thought it was a good idea. Was a while back, but you don't make that pitch out as much with this.
And this is the
right, and this driveway right here is right in the middle of the hill, and when you're on the top coming over, you don't even see the driveway. That house, I pulled out of that driveway many times. It's not the safest thing.
Now, Glenn, are you going north right now,
Yeah,
Glenn?
I'm going north. I'm trying to turn around.
Turn around so you can see that.
So let's go back. So
Let's not do any illegal U-turn here. Oh yeah, I see it now.
Yeah. And there is a hill. I'm not saying there's not.
Yeah, and it actually is the steepest one. I know you fixed some of the other ones, but that one, and then other one that's right by Drexel, that was a steep one. I think that was taken down a little bit.
It's not so much that it's a steep hill, it's the visual,
It's a visual.
what is being hidden in there, so.
Yeah. So if you were here, you would not see. Well, yeah, you might see that when you get to about that telephone pole. That's when you see everything at the bottom.
Right.
So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I think it's a good idea. That's my pitch. If you need anything more, I don't know. I guess I don't have anything. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, 6 kids. I don't know.
So I did try to go, say, 10 miles faster, so it's 30, 35. 30. So I went 40 in there. I felt comfortable enough that if there were a bus stop there, I think I could have seen it from way back in plenty of time. However, there is distracted driving issues. There is those kinds of things. And like I said, if you recall the 68th Street study we did 5-6 years ago, we took and we corrected the 2 worst ones. This was not the worst one, although it was in the top 5. I'm not sure where it ranked in the top 5, but this was beyond the number 2. So,
I mean, you can't see an autistic child from there either, but we have an autistic child sign right at the bottom of that hill, and they would actually live about 2-3 blocks up the road.
Yeah, that was,
So I'm going to say, if you're here, you don't see an autistic child, but there's a sign down there. So, but you wouldn't see, you don't see that sign on top of the hill.
Is that family still living at that corner house?
I would have to assume so because Debbie makes phone calls on an annual basis.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the one going from the other way is pretty close to Drexel, because I think they're in that
I
apartment
remember
complex.
that now that you mentioned
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But once you hit over once you come over the crest, there is quite a bit of distance between this and Wildwood Court.
I think the map distorts it a little bit.
It does. It probably distorts it, but you're still going quite a ways where it's a fairly so if I could, and I don't know exactly.
And you go in between, like 7:15, 8 o'clock. You're getting everybody going to school. You're getting the people that work out at the prisons, or is it penitentiary? I don't know what it is, but the House of Corrections. I guess that's the right term. The House of Corrections, plus all the other contractors that. It's the major road for all the contractors for yard services and everything, and throw in a couple of the trucks that shouldn't be going on that road because we have no truck signs at Drexel. We have no trucks. The sign over by Rawson. So in between Rawson and Drexel, there's not supposed to be any trucks. That's not enforced. In fact, I think a while back the police said they don't enforce that sign.
So look at the contours. There's the peak. If you zoom in, you can see that this is where the peak is. And when you measure to the center of Wildwood, of course, it's basically over a city block. So it's like, what did I say, 500 some feet? Yes, it's about 500 feet. So it's more than a city block, which is 400 feet. You can imagine that scenario. So
I don't know. Anyone here have kids? Do you want them at the bottom of a hill that people can't see going over the top? Probably not. I know. I agree. A lot of people don't, but I'm just saying. That's my pitch. I don't know. I mean, if you lived there, you would see it all the time.
And if you recall the conversation we've had about warning signs, we really tried to limit the number of warning signs because if you post too many warning signs, people ignore all of them. So we don't mind putting them up if it's absolutely needed. Staff opinion is I'm not sure it's absolutely needed, but that's why we bring to your board our discussion whether you want to act on it this month or go now that you know the issue, you want to go out and look at it, table until next month. That's up to you.
I'll make a motion to table until next month.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to table till next month. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it was made by Jim Witt and seconded by...
So one question. So that means everybody that is here that's going to table it to the next month will drive by there sometime and check it out themselves?
I drive by there before.
So you I'm going to guess you see it. You see it.
Yeah, I see
You
it.
see it.
When does school go in session?
I have no idea. Somewhere
After Labor Day.
Except yes, I have. Yeah. So maybe.
We didn't say no.
No, I know. I just wanted to ask if, like I said, I wouldn't ask anyone to actually put up a sign unless they drove by there and took
Right.
a look.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my suggestion before you even thought about doing it or not, is actually, physically going there and taking a look.
Okay.
So,
Well-
I mean, I would appreciate that. Like I said, come down there during school hours and the rush hours, and literally, it's not uncommon to see 50 to 60 miles an hour.
Well,
I've been
that's-
driving for a long time. I can tell you that one.
That's an enforcement issue.
Yeah,
And the
police-
sign is not going to resolve that
No,
problem.
no, it won't. It won't
But-
resolve it, but it could help.
Okay.
That's all.
We have
No, go ahead.
we have a motion that's been made and seconded by Alderman Hassan. Is there any discussion from any board members regarding this motion?
I have a comment.
Go ahead with your comment.
My comment is, based on what the school comes back and says, which is because we don't know year to year where to place such a sign, because we don't know where the bus stops may be placed year to year, because we don't know where the children may be
Right.
to be picked up. I do have issues with placing this particular sign in general.
My point is, why have school bus signs anywhere? Because you don't know year to year. So, but that's not the truth. We do have them.
We have a motion on the floor and we're discussing it. So,
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
I'm just making that comment. I don't know why, what we gain from tabling it.
To
at
add
this
where I think
point.
you're going with that, when you count the homes, there's 9 homes that basically supply it. So what are the odds that one of those 9 homes would have a kid? At least one kid. So,
Yeah, and of course they change. People, move in, move out, whatever.
I tell you what,
We can wait till next month, but I'm just saying, I don't know.
okay, we've got a motion to table it until next month. Everybody in favor of accepting that motion to table it until next month, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, hearing
Nay.
none.
Nay,
Nay.
nay, no,
You're saying no?
yes.
Okay, we've got 1 no.
Okay,
You're still outvoted.
but that's fine. I'm just making my vote.
Okay.
Great, thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
I would like to know if the person that wrote this to you actually ever stopped by there and took a look. That would be good. But anyway, have a good night, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
you.
Okay, the motion carries to table it until next month, and I would ask anybody if they could just drive by there so that we can actually put eyes on it and come back with a. Okay, item D, Pute's Pathway Consultant Selection.
So we have a grant awarded to us for construction of the pathway. If you recall, we talked about pros and cons of taking Pute's Road and reapplying it to the same grant that we keep getting knocked down for to widen the road. So we decided to just improve that with our local funds, and we went after a grant for a pathway, a separated pathway, and we got it. So we're expecting we could spend some dollars, potentially some dollars this fall on the design, and conceptually it'd be 2027, 2028 before we actually get to build a pathway. But among other things, the first decision would be should the pathway go north or south side of the road. This is between 76 and St. Martin. So I think everyone agrees it's a dangerous place to walk, dangerous place to ride. And this is one of those things where, as they say, everybody wants a pathway, but not in their front yard kind of thing. So this is going to be probably a big thing for the consultant to actually look at, figure out does it make more sense or financially to put on the north side or south side, which makes more sense, and then proceed to design once that decision is made. So I have 6 proposals from 6 different consultants who are ready to prove to you that they want to do this. I've asked the Parks Commission to supply at least 1 member, Common Council to supply a member, and then we're going to do 2 because this basically splits the two districts. So I would suggest to you that I'd like the Board of Public Works person to also participate in the selection process. So I would ask you to read each proposal and grade them, and which do you like, and so forth. And as a group, we could select a consultant. So I would suggest anyone on the Board of Public Works except for Alderman Hassan, because we already have 2 aldermen. I can't have 2 aldermen on the same committee unless we public notice it and all that sort of thing. So, but obviously you could still choose him. That just means we have to public notice out for every other meeting. So that's what I'm asking for the board is, would there be a volunteer that would want to participate in the selection process?
I'd like to volunteer.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to step up to the plate?
You wanted one, right?
I just need one, yeah.
One?
Parks
Okay.
Commission is only adding one. So
Okay.
I think it'd be fair.
So then, Jim,
Is-
what?
I got a question regarding that, if I may, Glenn.
Sure.
Are they planning pathways from Putes to Forest Park Middle School to connect the southern neighborhood? Or those neighborhoods south of the middle school too? Because if I remember right, there was a pathway that went into the woods, but there's nothing that connects that to the school.
So there are some pathways. I'm lost here. So Drexel, Putes, Forest Park. Oh yeah, I'm wrong spot. Okay, here's Drexel, Forest. So here's the new middle school, right?
Mhm.
So if you look, I think there's some pathways that punch their way out to Lake Point Drive. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, it was, if I remember right, it dumped out where that contour line is between those 2 houses, goes to the woods, and it dead ends there.
Yeah. But I do think people still use that. I've been told because somebody fell on the pathway a couple years ago.
But part of this project has been,
We are not connecting that as part of this project. So we're really just looking. So let me zoom out. So here's Putes Road. Everyone knows Putes Road. So we really need. Well, let me say this: between 76th and about 43rd, I believe, is that nice wide section of Putes. So the original intent was to make Putes that way from 27th Street all the way to St. Martin's. Since then, they've changed the rules on how we get divvied up funds, and this just cannot compete with roads in the Milwaukee area for various reasons. I won't go into those. So what we did was we said, well, let's look at a pathway from St. Martin's to 76th Street. I would say in the future we should also do a pathway from like 43rd to 27th Street. This is, especially Kayla's area. This is really a part that gets a lot of foot traffic, and it's just dangerous for people to walk. So anyway, this is from 76th to St. Martin's. We have a grant to do it, and I would. Sorry. I would again ask for the board to nominate one person, and you have one volunteer. So
Yeah. Okay.
Do you need us to?
Do you need a motion for that?
it'd
Or
be
we-
appropriate to do a motion.
All right. And I would entertain a motion to,
I'll move that we accept Jim Witt as the volunteer to represent the Board of Public Works to review
Second.
the consultant proposals.
okay, it was made by Jonathan Webster and seconded by Ken Skoronsky. There's no further discussion. I would say all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed? Okay, once again, the ayes have it. Commencing City Project Municipal Code 19-9.
Still nothing this meeting. Discussing that.
Okay. Moving on, number 7, future agenda items, request for stop sign at 116th Street and West Shields Drive.
So the board actually, I'm pretty sure the board actually talked about it. I think it was more than just me commenting about it. So if you look, let's do that here. So Wood Street's here, Shields And 116th Street, I believe, is the request. 116th is Shields. Intersection of West Shields Drive and South 116th Street. Observed numerous instances of vehicles speeding on 116th Street, which currently has no stop signs for traffic in either direction. I don't recall that discussion about not stopping in for Shields. I thought we had stop signs in Shields. I was gone last week. I had got back today. I have not had a chance to dig into this request yet, but this will be on the next month's agenda. So
Okay.
that would be the best part of that. So unlike the 168th Street, and that's all, you can go by and look at it so we can talk about it.
Okay, so, the next one is scheduled for next meeting, which will be Tuesday, September 10th. We don't need a motion for that, do we? It's just-
No, that's.
All right, but what I do need, are we there? I need a motion for adjournment.
7:21, I motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman. Thank you very much, and,
Vote.
okay, all right, you're right, all right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.